Good morning to you all students. So I hope by God's grace you all are safe. So I am handling computer subject for you. I am Shiny. So yesterday we have studied about what are the things, what do you mean by computer and which places we are using the computer. Okay. So before we are going to study the today's portion, just to recall what are the things we have discussed about yesterday. Okay. Yes. What are the things we have discussed yesterday? So what's the chapter name first? Introduction to computers. So what are the things we have discussed about yesterday? Who is the father of the computer? Charles Babbage, and what he is invented in the year 1837, analytical engine. So next we have studied about the expansion of computer. Then introduction, by which are the places we are using the computer, what's the use of computer, in which places, what's the advantage, disadvantage, everything. And one of the most important, very important 5 more questions you have studied today. What is that one? Generations of computer, isn't it or not? So how many generations are there? First generation, second generation, third, fourth and fifth generation and sixth generation. So and also just I given introduction about the sixth generation computer. Okay. So today we are going to study about data and information. Okay. So first I am explaining about data. This is one of the very important 2 mark question. Okay. Data. What do you mean by data? So data is defined as unprocessed collection of raw facts. That means that particular thing will not give any meaningful message. What's the meaning of that? Means what's the difference between processed collection and unprocessed collection? What do you mean by unprocessed? That means unrelated things. Okay. What do you mean by unprocessed things? Unrelated things you are collecting, but it is suitable for the communication. For example, see the example, then only you will understand. See, in example I have given, simply I have given our number 134, 16, Kavita. Whether all the things are related or not. Think and say whether 134, 16, Kavita, see whether these things are related to one another. No. For example, you have ID card. What are the things are present inside the ID card? So your addresses, then age, date of birth, then blood group. That things are related to one another. What is related? That's a relation of you, isn't it? So that are the related things. But in this example, whether these things are related? No. That is called as unprocessed collection of raw facts. Understand now what do you mean unprocessed? So data is defined as the unprocessed collection of raw facts, but it is suitable for what? Communication. To communicating with whom? Computer. Okay. So this will not give any meaningful. Whether if this is giving any meaningful message means this is not a related thing. Related, it will not give any related meaningful message. Understand now? So what is data? Now itself, please, now itself you just read it and study, then only you will understand. What do you mean by data? Data is defined as an unprocessed collection of facts for which purpose we are suitable for the communication. So you need to write, if they asked for the 2 mark question means you need to write the definition, what is data and also example the third. So it will not give the meaningful message. Understand? Yes. So next one is information. Okay, first we have studied about what? Data. Next thing is an information. What do you mean by information? So name itself we can say. There it is a collection of unprocessed facts. But here information is a collection of facts. That means processed. That means the related things you are going to collect, that from that related things you are making some conclusions. For example, if you are seen by seeing another one person seeing your ID card, by seeing your ID card itself, what they will think, this is the identifier of you, isn't it or not? Yes, that is the information. Understand now? Yes, information is a collection of words from which the conclusion. So if somebody get your ID card, what they will identify? This is the identification of some person. Isn't it or not? Yes, from that conclusion, this is the ID card of this person. That is the conclusion. So information is a collection of facts from which conclusion may be drawn. Okay. So here is a collection of raw facts, processed collection of raw facts. There the data will not give any meaningful message, but information will give meaningful message. Understand what's the difference? Information is a collection of processed facts. There it is a collection of unprocessed facts. 2 points. Then next point, what's the next point? If the data will not give meaningful message, but information will give the meaningful message. Okay. So this is some structured information. That means, for example, if you are writing your address, what's the structure of the address? First you will write your name, then your father's name, then the places, your location, then pin code, everything. Isn't it? Whether you will write the pin code at the first line. No, that is not correct. That is not an order. So each and everything has a order, isn't it? Likewise, this information is a meaningful message. It will give order or structure information. Understand now? Yes, sometimes they will ask for the 2 mark questions, ask differentiation between data and information. Okay, so if they asked for the differentiate between data and information, means what the first point you will write? Data you will write, information, data is a collection of unprocessed facts, but here information is a collection of processed facts. What's the second point you are going to write? So data is a will not give any meaningful message, but information will give meaningful message. Okay, then next thing you need to write the example. What's the third point you are going to write? Example. So what's the example I have given? See some data you have mentioned, no? That's the example. So here see this example. I have given one sentence. Kavita is 16 years old. So by reading this sentence itself, you can identify. So what's the information you are getting? So particular Kavita is a 16 years old. You can able to understand, isn't it or not? Yes. So this information, so this message is conveying some information to you. So this confirmation of data and information is called data processing. Important 1 mark question. What's the 1 mark question? Conversion of data into information is called what? Data processing. Understand? That means the meaningful message you are giving. That means the unprocessed collection of something is you are giving us a data into you are passing an information is called what? Data processing. Understand? Yes. So today you have studied about 2 mark questions. What are they? Data and information. So sometimes they will ask for separate what is data, give example, and information, give example. Sometimes they will ask for 3 mark question, differentiate between data and information. Understand? Yes. So next thing is the what is computer. So this question from KG itself, not from KG, from first standard itself you have studied. What do you mean by computer? What is computer? Each and even small kids you ask means they will say what is computer. What is computer? Computer is an electronic device, same thing only they are given. That takes that unprocessed as the input data. Understand? So not a related things, only we need to give related things as the input. No, not like that. Unprocessed takes raw, that is raw data. What do you mean by raw data? Unprocessed data. Understand? Unprocessed data as an input from the user. So for example, so I am typing something in the computer by means of keyboard. So what's the meaning of input? So I am typing, no? That by typing using keyboard is the input. I am giving input to whom? Computer. So input is given by whom? User. That it's an input from the user and process is under the controller set of inputs. For example, you are going to see some photos in the system or in the mobile phone. What you will do? First you will on the system. What input you are giving? You are, for example, the photos I have copied in my pen drive. I am going to copy the photos from my pen drive to the system and I am going to view. Understand? What the first step I will do? First I on the system. Then what the step? Next I pin the pen drive into my system. What input? So what input now I am giving? Pin the pen drive. Next thing I am open the photo. That's what process. Understand? Processing. Then output. What's the output you are getting? I am opening the photo and see. That's output. Understand? Simple thing I have an example I am telling. This input, process and output. So we are taking, so I am teacher, you are a student. So I am taking classes for you. What input I am giving? I am teaching a lesson for you. That's the input from me. So what's the process? You are listening and studying what I am teaching. Isn't that this process? What output I am expecting? You need to write the example and you need to produce better mark. Understand what you mean by input, process and output? So if they ask the definition as a computer means you need to write the definition as well as you need to draw the diagram. Understand what is a computer? Computer is an electronic device that takes which is an input, raw data as an input, from whom it will take the input? From the user and process. What are the things you are giving? It will process under the set of instructions. That means based on some instructions it will do and it saves for future. Understand? So what's in the diagram it will explain? Input, some user is giving input, that input is getting from the user and I am processing, who is processing the data? So that computer processing the data, particular output you get. Okay, so what this input, process and output, this together we are calling as an what? Data. That means input is on data, process on data and output. Together, altogether I am giving us an information. Understand now? Yes. Yes. Next thing. So this is one of the very important 5 mark question. Components of a computer. Understand? Already you have studied one 5 mark question. Generations of a computer. Now I am going to explain another one, very very important question, components of a computer. Either you can expect the types of generations from this chapter, 5-mark question. Otherwise, sometimes they will ask the components of a computer. So listen carefully, but very very easy. If you are listening means it's very very easy. Please listen carefully. Okay. So if your textbook means please open your textbook, and what are things I am teaching, just listen. Understand? Yes. So computer is a combination of hardware and software. What's the first point? Computer is a combination of hardware. Before I am going to explain this, you should know about what do you mean by hardware and what do you mean by software. Okay. So hardware, what do you mean by hardware? Hardware is a physical component. What is a physical component? What are things you are seeing? For example, if you are going to work in a system. So first, what are things you have seen? Come on a desktop you have seen, then a keyboard, mouse, then what are the things? A projector, CPU. So all these things are a physical component. That is called as what? Hardware. That means devices. What are the things you are seeing by your eyes and are the physical component? It is called what? Hardware. Understand? Next thing is software. What do you mean by software? Software means nothing but what are the applications. For example, if you are using mobile phone, so mobile phone is there. So without installing any apps in the mobile phone, whether it is useful or not. Whether it is useful without you are installing any apps, no, it is not useful. So what you will do? So from Play Store you download lot of apps and you will install based upon your use. You are using this particular apps, isn't it? Likewise, if without installing any software or without installing any programs, simply the hardware is there means whether we can use the computer. No, we can't able to use. So what are the things we need to do? Software as well as both hardware and software is there means only we can use this computer. Understand? So which one make the system to function? Which one make the computer system to function? Both hardware and computer together function. It will function together means only it will make the computer system to function. Understand? So what are the things you study in the components of a computer? So what's the first point? Computer is a combination of hardware as well as software. So before you are going to study about these components, first you need to draw hardware. What do you mean by hardware? Hardware is a physical component of a computer. What are the physical things? Motherboard, memory. So the later last slide and all, I'll explain in diagram. Okay, motherboard, memory devices, monitor, this and that. These are the physical things. Other examples also you can write: keyboard, monitor, then projector, everything. Okay. Then what do you mean by software? Software is a set of program. So both the software and hardware, if we make together the system to function. This is the introduction of a components of a computer. Understand now? Yes. So listen. So what is it? This is a motherboard. Whether this is the hardware or software, this is the is it visible? So this is the picture of the motherboard. Have you seen it? So see, this is the picture of motherboard. This motherboard will present inside the CPU. Understand? So this is the hardware or software? Hardware. So next one, memory devices. So this what's the use of memory? So which is the memory part of us? Memory part of my brain. Likewise, CPU also have some memory devices. So this is the picture of memory devices present inside the CPU. So next one is monitor. Monitor means nothing but already monitor, keyboard, these things and all already you have seen, isn't it? So these are the examples of what? Hardware. Okay. Next thing is software. Software is nothing but these are the softwares. Okay, applications. Then these are the things you are installed inside the system for your use. That is called as what? Software. What are the things I have given? Chrome, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Recycle Bin, MX Player, like this. All these things are there. These things is we are calling as an what? Software. Understand? So both this, whether this hardware alone present means whether the computer will work. This monitor is there without you are installing this software. Have you seen it inside? They are installed some software. They are shown as an icon. Without this software, whether this monitor will use? No. So for that purpose, I have given what? Software. So both the software as well as hardware combine together to make the systems to function. Understand now? Yes. So next thing, what is the functional components? Already you studied components of a computer. So what is the function? What are the functions doing inside the computer? Okay. So first point is, so this computer, each and every computer follows one cycle called IPO cycle. What's the cycle name? IPO means input process output cycle. What's the cycle name? IPO? input, process, output cycle. Okay, so this input, process, output cycle already I have explained in one diagram. Are you remembering? In that data and information diagram I will explain. So input, process and output. What do you mean by input? Input is given by whom? User. So what is the process? What are the things you are giving the input? The process, particular computer will process and you will get the particular output based on your input. That is called as which cycle? IPO cycle. So each computer follows one cycle called what? IPO cycle. Have you understand the first point? Yes. So each computer needs to work means we need to use certain input. For example, without teaching, whether you have the ability to study, for example, you have the computer book in your hand. Without I am explaining, I asked you to study one question. Whether it is possible to study without understanding? No. So you need particular input. What input? I need to teach and explain. Then only you will get understand. Likewise, if the computer needs to work properly means, so our particular things need to get proper. If you need to get a proper output, you need to give the proper input. Isn't it, Anna? Yes. So it needs certain input. So what's the first step? You need to give particular certain input. Next, you need to process the input. What input you are giving. So the based on that input is that computer needs to process. Then only it will produces desired output. Understand now? Yes. So input I am telling you. This input unit is taken by whom? For example, I am giving the input by means of teaching. So who is the input? Who is the user of giving input? Myself, teacher. So who is taking that or processing that one? Who? You or students. Likewise, the input is giving some unit. The input unit is given as a input. Who is taking for the processing? That means CPU, Central Processing Unit. Understand? For example, whatever things you are typing, whatever things you are loading in a system, so all the things are need to process. The processing is happening doing by whom? CPU. That is Central Processing Unit. CPU only done processing of data. Then all the processes is to over. It will produce the proper output. Understand now? So if you are giving input, the input is taken by whom? CPU, and this CPU will process the data and it will produce the proper output. Okay. So I am telling the CPU is processing their data. So whether this instructions needs to store in the memory or not. For example, at the same example I am teaching. So you are learning. Without you are storing in your memory, whether it is useful. So you without you are for example I am teaching, without you are listening, simply you are mug upping particular portion. Whether you will get remember while you are writing the exam. No. So all the things you are mug up means surely you will get forget. Without understanding, if you are studying means surely you will get forget. Likewise, so if the processing is done in CPU, whether the things need to store in the memory or not, surely they need to store in the memory. Okay. So which unit needs to store the store the data? Memory unit. Memory unit holds the data and instruction during processing. So at the time of processing, all the things are held by using which unit? Memory unit. Understand now? So in this slide, what are the things you have studied? So each and every computer works based on which cycle? IPO cycle. What's IPO? Input, process, output cycle. Okay. So if we get the proper output means you need to give what? Input, proper input. So input, what are the things you are given here as the input devices? What are the input devices studied? Keyboard, then mouse, these are the input. So by giving input, the particular things need to process. Where the particular things need to process? Inside the CPU, that is Central Processing Unit. So it will process the data and based on that input it will produce a proper output. Isn't it or not? Yes. Then the memory, all the things you are processing over, the particular things needs to store in the memory. So which one is holding that data and information? Memory unit. Understand? Yes. So this is the, if you are asked the 5-mark question, first thing you need to write, first slide I explain no, components of a computer. What is computer? Then components of a computer. Then you need to draw this diagram. This is a very, very important diagram. You should draw this diagram. Then only you will get 5 marks. Understand? See the diagram. So 3 things I explained already. So IPO cycle. Input, process, output cycle. How many units are there? 3 units. What are they? Input unit, processing unit and output unit. Okay. So this, listen. So I am giving, our particular user is giving input by using this input or giving input data using which unit? input unit. So if you are giving this input unit, it will go to, this is called as what? CPU. Center portion is there, no? CPU. CPU contain what are the things are there inside CPU? Control unit, ALU, internal memory, main memory. So memory is divided into two types. What are the memory? Main memory as well as secondary memory. Understand? So if I am giving the input is directly going into where? CPU. Inside the CPU, the things are processing. So inside here only processing is going on. So after the processing, the things are stored in where? Memory. Understand? So in this, the processing is done and stored in memory. From memory, you are getting the output. You see the red color line. Then only you will understand. So I am giving input. So this input is entered into the CPU. It will process the data and it will enter into the where? Main memory. From this main memory, after the processing data, it will give this output. Understand? All these operations are controlled by see this blue colored dotted lines. So this control unit, controlled by whom? The controlling of data is given by control unit. Understand? This diagram is very very must. So you should draw the diagram for this components of a computer. Okay. So see this diagram. What's the first thing? Input unit. So you are going to study each and every unit in elaborated manner. Okay. First thing is input unit. So already I said. So what's the use of input? You need to feed in the form of data. So in the computer you need to feed the data in form of in computer you need to feed any form of data. So what's the use of input unit? Input unit is used to feed any form of data to whom? Computer. So this input data is just to memorize that diagram. Input unit is stored in where? Memory unit. For what? Processing. Understand what is input unit? So input unit is used to what? Feed the any form of data to whom? Computer. So this computer, if I am giving the input, particular thing is stored in where? Memory unit. For what? Processing. Okay. So see some examples of the input unit. What are the examples? So you can say keyboard and mouse. For example, I am typing something in the computer. So from where I need to type? Keyboard. So which is the input unit for them? Keyboard. Okay. So next one is I am doing some clicking photos or anything. By clicking and all, I have given which device is the input? Mouse. Understand? Input unit, two things you have studied. Input unit is used to give input in the form of data for what? Processing. Processing is done in where? Memory unit. So these are the example. What are the example? Keyboard and mouse. Understand? Yes. So next thing is central process. See this memorize the diagram. First thing over. Input unit over. Next thing is CPU. So inside the CPU, what are the components you have studied? Control unit, arithmetic unit and memory unit. So each things you are studying in detail. First one is CPU. So simply you can tell me the CPU is the heart of the computer or brain of the computer. In lower classes you might have studied, isn't it? So for example, a human is there. Without brain, whether we can do anything? No. So brain is the main part for what? Memory and sending signals, something etc. Isn't it? Likewise, computer also, which is the major part of the computer or heart of the computer or brain of the computer means CPU. Understand? Yes. So the CPU is a major component of the computer. So this inside the CPU you need to execute software instruction. All the instructions, what are the instructions you are given? All the things are executed inside where? In the CPU. Understand? So then all the operations are controlled. Input, output, memory unit. All the operations are controlled inside where? CPU. What's the first point? So each is the major component. It will execute all the software. And all the operations are controlled. Memory unit, input unit, control unit, output unit. Everything is controlled inside where? The CPU. Understand? Yes. So I am telling always I am giving as a input data. So for example, I am typing some one sentence, computer science. I am typing one word. For example, I am typing one word, computer science. If I am typing computer science, whether the computer accepts as the same English letter? No. So if I am typing the word, it will convert into a binary data. Okay. For example, I am typing C means, for C has a particular value. Binary means nothing but zeros and ones. What is binary? Zeros and ones. Okay. So if I am typing C, if the C has a particular value, maybe 1. D has particular value, maybe 0 or 1. Understand? So what are the input you are giving? It will access the input as data in the form of what? Binary. Understand? then it will process the data according to the instructions. That means what are the based on that instructions given by the CPU, it will process the data and it will produce the proper output. Understand? Yes. So 3 points you have studied here. What are the points here? It is the major component of a computer. It will execute software. Okay. Then what's the next point? It will control all the operations. What are the operations? Or what are things? What are the units? Memory unit, input unit, all the things are controlled by whom? CPU. Then it will accept the input and it will convert the input in which data in form? Binary form, and process, and it will produce proper output. Understand? Yes. Then the CPU has three components. What are they means? Control unit, arithmetic unit, and memory unit. Understand how many components are inside the CPU? 3. What are they? Control unit, arithmetic unit, arithmetic and logic unit ALU. Next one is memory unit. Understand? Yes. See. So first thing is arithmetic and logic unit. That means ALU. Okay, arithmetic and logic unit. So ALU means the arithmetic and logic. Name itself having arithmetic operations. What are the arithmetic operations you have studied in mathematical? What are the arithmetic operations? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, logical. Logical operations is nothing but true or false. That is logical operation. Okay. So this ALU is performed. What's the main purpose of ALU? ALU performs arithmetic operations. What are the arithmetic operations? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical operation. Okay. So if you are going to add, for example, you are going to add 2 or 3 numbers. For example, 5 plus 3 I am going to add. What's the result? 8. So I need to store this 8 in a particular place. Where I need to store? In memory. Understand? So where memory is present inside where? CPU, central processing unit. So the result of an operation is stored in internal memory of the CPU. Understand? What's the first point? ALU, the arithmetic logic unit performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So the result of this thing is saved in where? In CPU. Understand? Yes. Next thing is control unit. So all the without for example, if vehicles are moving in the road without a traffic police, whether the vehicles are moving proper way. If a traffic is without traffic police, whether the vehicles are moving in a proper way? No. So for controlling vehicles, some person is needed. Whom? Traffic police. Likewise, so here this flow of data is needs to control by someone is called which one? Control unit. For example, inside a class, a lot of students are there. So students needs to be controlled by, if a teacher is entering inside the class, who is controlling the class now? Teacher. Likewise, all this data and information or instructions are going inside the computer is controlled by some unit. Unit is called what? Control unit. Okay. This control unit controls, what are the things it will control? Flow of data between CPU, memory, and I/O devices. In that diagram I said, inside the CPU, 2 colors of lines you have studied, no? Red color and blue color. So that is a flow unit, control unit. That flow of all the things are controlled by whom? Control unit. What are the flow of data between whom and whom? CPU, memory, and input. That means inside the CPU, memory unit, input and output unit, this basic control. Understand? Yes. All the entire operations of a computer is controlled by whom? Control unit. Understand? 2 things you have studied. What are the things? So control unit controls the flow of data between whom and whom? CPU, memory, and input output devices. Next thing is, it will control entire operation of a computer. Understand now? Yes. Next one is output unit. So till now input unit you have studied. Next one is output. So input is over. You are giving input. Inside the input, after giving the input inside the CPU, particular processing of the data is going on. After the processing, you need to produce particular output. Isn't it? So what's the use of output unit? Output unit is a hardware component that conveys information to users in understandable form. For example, so I am typing a question paper or notes for you or for students. So I need to give the copy of the particular notes or something. So what I will do is if I have typed the thing, and I will take a printout of that particular copy. So typing is going on inside the computer. So if I am taking the printout in where I have taken printout? In printer. So which is the output unit? Printer. So all the things you have seen in the model. So which is output unit? Monitor. Understand? What's the processing is going on there? Typing. That means typing. For example, I am typing something. So typing using which input I am giving? Typing. So I have typed the particular thing in monitor. Processing. then I am taking printout from the printer. That is valid. Understand now? Yes. So what's the output unit? Output unit is a hardware component. It will convey the information to users in a understandable form. What are the things you are expecting? For as a human understandable form, you will get the output. Understand? So what are the examples here? Monitor and printer they have given. Next thing is a memory unit. So this memory unit, there are two types of memories there. In the diagram itself I said two types of memory. Primary memory as well as secondary memory. Okay. How many types of memory is there? Two types. What are they? Primary memory and secondary memory. First thing to study primary memory. Okay. So this primary memory is used to temporarily store the programs and data. Okay. So which memory is used to temporarily store the data? Primary memory. Best example I am telling. So in a class, lot of students are there. Not all the students are in same category of thinking capacity and studying capacity, isn't it? Some students will mug up within 5 minutes. Some students will take more than 15 minutes to understand and mug up. So see, primary memory means, so for example, I am teaching. Some students will hear that teaching and only they will hear. They won't study. By this year they will hear and next year will send you out. That is called as primary memory. Understand now? They will listen and they will throw it outside. But they won't take it into the brain. That is primary memory. Understand now? Primary memory is used to temporarily store the programs. Not a permanent one. Temporarily used to store the program. So, by hearing and without studying, by hearing whether it is useful, no. So, primary memory is a volatile. That means, so if you are storing something in the primary memory, if a power is switched off, means that the contents, what are the things you have stored in the primary memory, it will get erased. Understand? So primary memory is volatile. That means immediately, so if a power is gone, means the data stored in that primary memory will get erased. Best example in RAM. What is the example for the this primary memory? Random access memory. So this is an example of main memory also. Understand? Two types of memory was studied. What are they? Primary memory as well as secondary memory. Which one is used for temporarily store the device? Which one is used to temporarily store the programs? Primary memory. So it is a primary memory is always used to store the programs in temporary manner. So primary memory is a volatile memory. That means, so immediately if power is gone, means you can the ability to get lost, that the data will get lost. That means the primary memory is volatile. If the content is lost when the power supply is switched off. So best example is a RAM. RAM is a example for this primary method is a random access memory. So this is also one of the important one more question also. RAM is an example of main memory. With the dash is the example of main memory. Dash is the example of main memory. RAM is the example of primary. Understand? Yes. Next thing is secondary memory. So I said no, that same example I am telling. Some students always listen immediately. They will study and store that particular thing in a brain. That is called a secondary memory. Understand? So this secondary memory is used to store the data permanently. So which memory is used to store the data permanently? Secondary memory is used to store the data permanently. This is non-volatile. But the primary memory is volatile. But here it is non-volatile. So immediately the power supply switched off means also the data won't get lost. Either data will store. For example, they are given hard disk, CD-ROM, DVD-ROM. For example, so in CD you are copying some files. After copying that file, the power is when means if the file gets corrupt. No, the file is present inside the CD. So what are the things? Sometimes they will ask for 2 more questions also. They will ask explain primary memory, define secondary memory. You need to write both. Sometimes they will ask for differentiation between primary memory as well as secondary memory. What are things you will write? Primary memory is a temporary memory. Secondary memory is a permanent memory. Then what's the second point? It is a volatile memory, primary memory, secondary. This and all, please note it down. It is useful for you. But this differentiation is not given in your textbook. Please note it down. What's the first point? Memory is primary memory is a temporary store to data. Secondary memory is used to store the data permanently. Primary memory is a volatile memory. Secondary memory is non-volatile. So there, if a power loss means you can get the ability to lose the data. Here power supply system means the data won't get lost. What are the examples they have studied? RAM is an example for them. Secondary memory, CD-ROM, DVD-ROM, and the examples of secondary memory. Understand? So next thing you are going to study about devices. Till now you have studied about what? units. What is unit? Input unit, output unit, processing unit, and all the things here. So till now, listen. So up to this, you need to write the components of a computer. Understand? Very important 5-mark question. If they ask for the components of a computer, means from where you need to write means this from here. Okay. Functional components of a computer. From here you need to write just this footer heading components of a computer. You need to write this introduction part, 4 points you need to write. Then you should draw this diagram. Then you need to explain all the things. What do you mean by input unit, then diagram, central processing CPU, then all the things you need to explain. Then usually you will get how many marks? 5. Understand? Next thing you are going to study about devices. Okay, what are the devices you have know? Input and output devices. Already you have studied in example input device. What's the input? The first input device I got taught? Keyboard. Which is the first input device I use? Keyboard. You already know about a keyboard, isn't it? So keyboard, there's a 3 kinds of wired keyboard is there, wireless is there, virtual keyboard. What is the difference between wired and wireless? Wired means if it's the keyboard, you need to connect to the system by means of wire. Wireless means without wire, we can able to work with using the system. That is the difference between wired and wireless. Okay. So which is a common input device we are using today? Keyboard. Which is a common input device we are using today? Keyboard. So keyboard, if you see the keyboard means lot of keys are there. Okay. Letters are there. That means characters A, B, C, D. That all the letters are there. Numbers are there. So this lot of function keys, lot of keys are there. Okay. So altogether, this letters, numbers and special characters are collectively known as which key? Character is very important. 1 more question. Please note it down. So which keys are called? Character keys. What are the keys? Letters, numbers, special characters. This all together we are calling as which key? Character keys. Understand? Yes. Apart from this alphabet and numeric keys, functions keys also there. If you see in the keyboard means at the uppermost level, first line. That means first line you will see lot of functions key. From F1, F2, F3. From F1 to F12 you have. That is called as which key? Function key. Okay. So there are different sets of keys available in keyboard. What are the keys? So this is important 2 mark question. So what are the explain about different sets of keys available in keyboard. What are the keys? Character keys, modifier keys, system, and GU means graphical user interface. Okay. Graphical user interface, enter key, editing key, function keys, navigation, numeric keypad and lock keys. So this is very important 2 mark question. Please note it down. So how many the types of keys are available in keyboard? What are the things? Same. Character keys, modifier keys, system and GUI keys, editing keys, function keys, navigation, numeric keypad and lock. So understand about the keyboard. So sometimes they will ask for 3 mark question. You should write all these 4 points. What are the points you need to write? Keyboard is maybe wired keyboard as well as wireless keyboard. So this keyboard is used as an what's the use of keyboard? Use as an input device. So in this keyboard, letters, numbers and special characters. This altogether we are calling as which keys? Character keys. Apart from this alphabet and numeric keys, what are the keys are also available? Function keys are also available. So what are the different sets of keys are available? Character keys, modifier keys, system, GUI keys. These are the keys are available in keyboard. Understand? Yes. Next input device is the mouse. Same only. Sometimes they will also differentiate between keyboard and mouse. You need to differentiate and write. Okay, these are the things are not present in your textbook. So please listen. So what's the first point you write? Keyboard also is wired as well as wireless. Mouse is also both wire mouse is also there, wireless mouse is also there. Okay. Mouse is the pointing device. Pointing device means, for example, if you are clicking something in a screen, so you will see a cursor here, isn't it? So that is the pointing device. Okay. What's the use of this one? Used to control the movement of cursor display on screen. What's the use of the mouse? Pointing device. So you should need to control the movements. If you are by using this mouse, you can drag, move here and there, isn't it? So using this mouse, you need to control the movement of what? Cursor display on the screen. Where it will display on the screen. So in the screen it will display. You can able to control the movement. Okay. So next thing is, so using that mouse, you can select icons. Means what are the things you are, without mouse, whether we can select all the things? No. So using this mouse, you can select icons, menus and all the command buttons. So in mouse, there are 2 types of buttons. What are they? Double click, you can double click, right click and left click. Okay. So mouse, what are the actions of the mouse? Sometimes they will ask for one more question. Some mouse, what are the actions of the mouse? What are they? Move. You can move the mouse using the cursor here and there. Next, click. Double click, right click, drag, and what are the actions using this mouse you can do? Move, click, double click, right click, drag and drop. Okay. So likewise the keyboard, here also different types of mouses are there. What are they? Means mechanical mouse, optical laser mouse, air mouse, 3D mouse, ergonomic mouse and gaming mouse. How many mouses are there? Mechanical mouse, optical mouse, air mouse, 3D mouse. So two input devices you have studied. What are they? So two input devices you have studied. What are they? Keyboard as well as mouse. So differentiate between keyboard and mouse. What are the first point is wired mouse as well as wireless mouse. The keyboard is used for typing on the characters. It's a point device used to control the second point. So there you see what's the use of keyboard? You can able to type characters and keys. Here mouse is used to select icons, menus and buttons. So what's the use of this mouse? You can move, click, double click, different types. There are also kinds of keys are there. Mouse. Understand? So by this I am ending this session. Before ending this session, just recall what are the things you have studied today. What are the things? Data. One important, two important. 2 mark question. What are they? Data, information, then differentiation between data and information, then components of a computer, very very important 5 mark question. Then you have studied input devices. What are they? Keyboard as well as mouse. Please, after completion of this session, take a textbook, just read it, study. Please study and write and see the components of a computer. 2 5 mark questions already you have taught. So please study well. Thank you, students.